Hello everyone, how's everything? I'm going to be talking about a specific subject today, which is breakups and how maybe they've worked for other schizoids. I'm going to be talking about my own experiences with the one and only real breakup I guess I ever had, because though I had other uh, physical situations with different people, I didn't ever have any long-term relationships, or longer. I would say not long-term, but longer relationships until high school, and that was pretty short. It was still only a couple of years, and then in between there was a lot of just kind of messing around, things like that. And then eventually, once I met my wife and she became my girlfriend, then I eventually married her. That's only the second long-term relationship, or longer relationship I was in. I would say the only relationship, quote unquote, especially for the first one, because it was barely any kind of real relationship there. The second one, I would argue, or the one with my wife right now, I would argue is the first relationship. Real relationship I've ever been in a emotional sense, because I wasn't really there for the first one, not in the way I thought I was. So first things first, thank you for subscribing, thank you for liking. If you dislike, tell me why you disliked, tell me why you disagreed, why you thought it was dumb or lame. That'd be great. It's useful for me to figure stuff out, or why you liked it, or what you related to it. That's what I get the most out of. Like, if I want to say the thing I get the most personally, would be seeing how you guys relate to some of the things I say, especially if you're schizoid. But even if you're not, I just like to hear other human beings that are socially avoidant and aversive tell me how maybe they dealt with similar situations, and then seeing what they don't relate or do relate to. I like that. So feels good. What I wanted to start with, though, is a little video. I was looking for like a creative commons video, so I wouldn't get a strike or anything, or I don't know how this works yet. And so I'm gonna play this one, and this is, I guess, a breakdown of what would be a conventional stages after a breakup. So, and I'll explain afterward why the vast majority of them never applied to me when it was happening back then. How it didn't really connect. It didn't click in the same way. I don't know if the other person went through any of this. I doubt it as well, honestly. But who knows? Who knows?
Breakups suck, and there's no way around them other than going through the hoops. As painful as it is right now, we want you to know that it won't always be this way. Here are the 7 stages of heartbreak. 1. Obsession for answers. We often yearn for closure.
Definitely did not occur in my instance.
But closure doesn't always come, and more importantly,
no obsession
it
whatsoever.
doesn't change the outcome. You might be determined to gather answers from your ex-partner's family, friends, or co-workers, but eventually, playing detective gets old.
Get rid of that.
Which is why you move to stage 2, denial. You might have stopped searching for clues and answers, but this doesn't mean you're ready to accept things.
Didn't really need to go through any denial because I had the answers to begin with.
For now,
so
hoping it's just a bad dream you'll wake up from. 3. Sorrow. But no matter how
why is it
hard
missing
you
the
try
O?
denying the truth, it eventually catches
That was
up
weird.
to you. You start asking yourself, why me? And this time you really
I knew exactly why me.
4. Relapse. So you finally manage to see the breakup is really happening, but you're not ready to let them go.
I guess all this stuff would mostly apply to people that get broken up with, maybe, or vice versa. I don't know. I'm not sure.
It doesn't work. You feel fed up and angry about the situation.
Well, I was angry about a lot of things. It wasn't that.
It's better than not holding on to anything
That is not one of the things I was angry about.
Acceptance. But even then, you eventually grow tired of resentment.
I think I skipped straight to 6.
So you try something healthier by accepting the breakup.
That's
for
funny.
What it is. You're not necessarily happy about it, but you're no longer bitter either. 7. Hopefulness. Breakups can leave us feeling scarred and doubtful, but the heart knows how to mend over time. When you're ready,
I've always been scarred and doubtful.
See your past relationship as a lesson. It's
Not
important
associated to any kind of breakup.
You go through should be taken as an experience. Each one brings you one step closer to finding that perfect one. Are you going through a breakup? If so, which stage are you in? Please share your thoughts with us below.
All right, you get the point. You get the point. I'm trying to record here. So. No, light on. Thank you though.
Hey, vamos. Let's go. Vamos.
Okay, hopefully that portion of the video in which I was showing you a video works properly with the audio. I certainly hope it does. First time I've ever recorded anything with another video playing. I had to adjust some of the audio, and if it came out right, cool. If it didn't, fuck it, whatever, right? But I wanted to show that mostly just for that reason, so we can kind of have a animated sort of look at some of these steps that I guess the vast majority of human beings go through when they're dealing with some kind of breakup type situation with a mate or some kind of relationship like that, and how for myself at least none of these really applied, except for number 6 perhaps on the list. Number 7's hilarious because I don't need that. Hope for what? Like another relationship? No, another girlfriend or something. I really wasn't looking for that. Maybe I thought I was, but I didn't know what I was looking for, honestly. Ludicrous at the time. I'm actually very, very glad I didn't end up inadvertently having another girlfriend, like girlfriend until I met who is now my wife. The woman who is now my wife. That's what I meant to say. But yeah. Okay, so in my case, that first quote-unquote relationship was in high school. I think you believe this is what's funny though, is that my memories of it are vague at best because I wasn't really emotionally connected to the situation as much as I thought I was probably at the time. It was a lot of emoting, a lot of masking, a lot of tricking myself into thinking that I cared, or I should be, or I should care about this or that. And so it's really strange because I don't, like, a lot of my memories from my past are associated to things that I liked and interests that I had and thoughts that went through my mind and stuff like that. They're not really associated to like happy memories or like anything like that, like stuff that was actually externally occurring in my life, unless it was like particularly upsetting. I don't have a lot of memories of even high school, except for how much I hated being there and some of the reasons for that. But as far as my relationship at the time in high school, I remember a few things, mostly, well, probably physical in nature. Some of the other things were just strange or confusing, the emotional aspects of it, at least on the part of the other person, because I was lacking in a lot of departments. I mean, I had a lot of, fear and anxiety even during that time, but it was really not associated to the relationship I was in. It was more associated to other external forces, and then sometimes I would probably connect it somehow to my relationship in some way, and so I would emote in certain ways that it wouldn't even make sense for me to do now, especially. Yeah, that's what happens. Hormones going through your body, all that good stuff, all that crazy stuff. But And in my instance, it was a girl I had met, I believe, I'm trying to remember, was it my sophomore year or my sophomore year, I think. I think I met them my sophomore year in a class. I believe it was biology. The class was rather boring. I do remember having a teacher who was interesting at the time. See, this is what I mean. I'll remember things that other people probably wouldn't care to remember. Like, I remember the fact that that teacher was interesting because I can't remember his name, but I remember that it was interesting because he believed in evolutionary concepts, but he was also a Christian, if I remember correctly, and he had created some integration in his mind between his Christian biblical beliefs and his belief in evolutionary science. And it was interesting. He told me his theory once. A lot of the times I would get teachers after class in high school and even at the university to talk about all kinds of subjects and theories they had on a personal level or their personal interests or whatever. And that was more fascinating to me than anything they were actually teaching in class. Those conversations were worth remembering and were probably more influential to my own development than anything else that was going on in school, like friends and stuff like that, which is so topsy-turvy if you ask anyone else. They probably don't remember a single word any of their teachers said outside of class, much less during class, right? But anyway, so I found the person charming because I think at the time the person themselves are very avoidant, highly socially averted, and at the time they were just very shy and had a darker sense of humor. So when I would make crass jokes about things, it would make them laugh, and then I would make negative or cynical comments about things, and they would agree or find it funny. That was probably what initially made me go, "Oh, this person's interesting," too, because they're agreeing with me, so they're relating perhaps in some respect to what I'm trying to say, and obviously that feeling of like relatability probably gave me some little dopamine kick that over time got confused with some kind of romantic infatuation. Especially, when you're going through those teenage years. I remember also, being physically attracted to them. They had, I guess, features at the time that I found pleasing. And then eventually I remember that we had gone out in some kind of, perhaps a movie or something. I don't remember what we went on, but I do remember that we went somewhere, and then you did the things you normally do, and we had kissed and made out or something afterward at some point or another. And then after that particular instance, it was like, oh well, you want to be my girlfriend? And then I was like, okay, and then sure, why not? And then there, I had a girlfriend. I had my first real girlfriend, quote unquote. And after that point, we just continued going out, and we had similar interests. I know that, like film and musical interests, and TV show interests. So we spent a lot of our time watching things, not really talking all that much about anything, to be honest, which is probably why I preferred being around them. They were pretty, like I said, socially averted, so they weren't really willing to participate in a lot of conversation, and they probably didn't want to, or they were kind of like really reserved about their opinions or thoughts because I don't know, fear of rejection or otherwise. And I'm sure I was a dick, so if somebody said something that I thought was dumb, I was pretty arrogant at the time. It's high school, high school schizoid, you can imagine. And so the relationship kind of just went on like that for quite a while. Obviously it got more and more physical, and it would kind of just switch between spending time doing physical acts and spending time watching or doing things that we were interested in. And that's it. Yeah. And I think with this particular person, this was my first sexual experiences with another human being at the time. I hadn't seeked them out until that point in my life because I just didn't have much of a drive to do so. So then, yeah, that went on. And, when you're a 16, 17-year-old guy, you don't care. Like, you're doing stuff and it feels good, and you're having a good time, and you're not really thinking about it much. I wasn't thinking like, oh, I want to get married one day and have children or any of that stuff. That definitely, if anything, the other person, if I remember correctly, wasn't interested in those things either. They were severely against this idea of ever doing any of that for their own reasons. Like I said, they were highly avoidant. And so it worked for me because I had no concerns of any kind of like anything like that ever occurring. Any kind of like ideas of further development of the relationship as it was, which was just physical and hanging out and doing things that we liked, that we had a mutual interest in. And that went on for quite a while. I'm trying to remember kind of what direction. There was a few arguments, I'm sure, fights over this or that. I think a lot of the arguments, which is interesting, had to do with our own personality disorders. And like I said, I'm just kind of basing what I know about them as what I know about them to figure out that I'm pretty damn sure they were avoidant. Panic attacks and such occurring in social situations were kind of a first red flag for that. But because I was schizoid, I wasn't really afraid of social situations. I was just annoyed by them, and frustrated by them, and sometimes they would depress me because they wouldn't go the way I thought they would, and things like that. But the other person was terrified of them in a lot of respects, and they would, if I remember correctly, I would kind of be the when we would be in a social situation, I'd be the talking person. I'd be the person up there masking, doing my thing. And even back then, I was okay at it. I got a lot better. If there was a situation where something couldn't get completed or something school-related wasn't getting done, and the other person would panic and go into a spiral, a depression or anxiety spiral, then I would cover for them, or I would finish an assignment for them, or just because it was interesting, because you would think that I was doing it for altruistic reasons, which is like, oh, I want to do nice things for the person I care about. No, it was more like it was more selfish. It was more like, I don't want to deal with all these emotional outbursts, so I'll just do whatever it takes to settle them down, because I enjoyed the time I spent with them, just doing things we liked and having a physical relationship. So to keep that intact, I would both those things intact, that friendship / physical relationship, then I would I would go out of my way to either please them or make sure that they stayed emotionally stable and content for the most part, even though we were both pretty miserable in our own ways, I'm pretty sure. So as the years went on, and years, more like 2 years, right, went on, and eventually the person, we both got older, and senior year hit, high school. Things were getting a little stale, I guess, because doing the same thing over and over doesn't really qualify as much. And eventually you've seen a lot of movies, you've done a lot of things, and that repetitive process might get to some people. And I don't know if it got to me, but I'm pretty sure it was getting to them. There had been like 1 or 2 instances in which I think we were on the cusp of a breakup, but then I would kind of argue or plead to keep it together. And that's what's funny. It wasn't because of like what I perceived to be romantic reasons. It was convenience, and it was this need for relatability, and also just I didn't want to because I spent most of my time when I wasn't with them basically alone. And when I did try to spend time with friends and go out to things, I hated it. I was miserable by the end of it. So I didn't want to lose my, I guess, social lifeline at the time, because I was still attempting to be normal. I wasn't diagnosed. I didn't know what was going on. So, but let me get to the most interesting part about all this. Okay, the breakup itself. So, by the time senior year occurred, things were kind of getting old, and I knew for a very long while that another particular gentleman was interested in this person, and I have a recollection of knowing this for at least maybe half of the relationship time period, because I had heard rumors or rumblings about such a thing. There was a friend in their circle of friends, partially my circle of friends, that was interested in this person. It had been. And so I guess I had found my exit to the relationship at that point. And I wasn't looking for an exit per se, but I was just, thinking about, like, where's this going? Because high school's almost over, and I'm going to go to school somewhere or something, or I'm going to leave, or I'm going to be somewhere else. And what if I want to have other, physical situations? And now I can't because of this, and I'm not sure where this is going, because it hasn't changed for, the time that we had been together. And also a mixture of those rumblings of that person had been kind of after them in their own way, but then also, I guess, a little closer toward the breakup point was that I had discovered from others, or perhaps themselves, or some kind of signifiers that gave it away, that my girlfriend at the time was interested in that other person as well, and had been for a while. So I think I studied up a little bit on, like, their friendship dynamic, because there would be someone that would occasionally be around us, and then I started, like, asking questions of other people, and then finding out things, and then I basically rationalized and logically came to the conclusion that she would be better off with the other person, because I wasn't really in it for the long run. I wasn't really interested in this romantic future with this person. So, and then I was also interested in having other physical relationships in the future. I didn't want to be my one and only, and I didn't want to stay. I didn't see myself being in this conventional long-term romantic situation where I would fall in love and get married and have kids with somebody one day. Like, those thoughts never crossed my mind. They just didn't. And eventually, once I came to that conclusion, it's really awkward, it's really strange, but I had approached the gentleman at the time, and I confronted him about his feelings toward my girlfriend at the time. And I explained it. I've heard about this. I know about this. Is it true? I'm not angry. I'm not upset. I don't want to fight you. I just would like to know if there's any validity to this. So I wanted to confirm this, and I remember it like this. Maybe it didn't go quite like this, but I remember asking the person this. And then me having this conversation, discovering, yes, that there was a confirmation of this being true. And of course I played up the fact that, I had been interested in possibly ending the relationship, or that we were fighting a lot, or we were probably going to break up anyway. So I just wanted to know. So I kind of threw that in there, I think, to convince the other person to be honest about their feelings. So I think I discovered what was the case, and then I believe I had confronted, my then girlfriend, I don't know if we'd had a breakup or separation of some kind when the conversation occurred, but not a full-on breakup. Maybe it was just like an argument or something. I can't quite remember. But I know I confronted them, and they said, confronted's a strong word too. There was no conflict. It was just a question. And then when they told me, that was a possibility and that they had feelings for someone else or whatever, I then decided, okay, well, let me exit. Let me remove myself from this equation. And I did. I told them both, I'm removing myself from this equation. No hard feelings. I would like to remain acquaintances with both of them, as we had similar interests, because we both like just film and shows and nerdy things, just nerdy stuff. And I said, okay, I'm removing myself. You guys can now be together without any sense of remorse or guilt or any kind of problem or awkwardness. Just do your thing. Go have your, thing and enjoy yourselves. And I kind of moved on from there. I think at some point, years later, there was some kind of issue in which, I had, not regretted breaking up with the person. It was more like time had gone by, and I got more depressed, and I got more isolated, and I got more angry, and I got more bitter, and any kind of physical interactions I was having with others over time were not satisfactory, or I wasn't feeling any emotional connection that I thought I would, because I assumed that's how it works, at the time. And so then I would get angry and bitter, and the closest thing I ever had to any kind of relationship was that person. So I think that at some point or another I had brought up that fact. I said something about that, maybe I shouldn't have made that decision. But then time passed, and I was just like, no, that was definitely for the best. That was definitely the best fucking decision, because that would have been far more harmful to them than myself if they would have just stuck it out with a fucking cold, distant schizoid, especially an avoidant, which, generally they fear rejection. What's the ultimate rejection than being with someone that is completely indifferent to you and in any real way? So yeah, that's how that went. And so this right here, what did I do wrong? I didn't do anything wrong in my view. I, in fact, took myself out because I didn't feel it was going anywhere, and they already had someone else in mind. So I just came to the conclusion that I might as well move past this. Denial, there wasn't any need for any. Because I was the one that kind of initiated the breakup in some respects. I don't know that they would have vocally broke up with me at the time because of, like I said, the avoidant behavior. And so even if they didn't want to be with me, and I can name multiple reasons why someone wouldn't have wanted to be with me at the time. I was an asshole. But yeah, none of that. No bargaining. It's funny, the only bargaining I had to do was to convince both people that I wasn't angry or upset about it, and that I was fine with it. And that was probably incredibly confusing to both of them, especially the other gentleman. But I just wasn't interested. And so I had to bargain in that sense. But that was pre-breakup, so it doesn't really count. Anger. Nope. The only anger I developed was long after the breakup, because, life wasn't going quite as smoothly as I had mentioned in my internal constructions. My theoretical constructions of my future, things weren't going quite smoothly. And so kind of anger maybe developed over time. Depression, nope. Acceptance. And that's what's funny. Acceptance was like step one of the breakup, because I initiated it. And then, but it wasn't initiated for emotional reasons. See, that's what's so weird. Like, okay, it's one thing if you break up with somebody because, of emotional reasons, or they're harmful to you, or you don't feel like being like you don't have the same feeling anymore for them, or that kind of shit, right? But that wasn't even the case for me. It was just, okay, so where's this going? Okay, well, I don't have any plans on, doing this or that, and there's another person that's interested in them, and they seem more interested in this person than I really am anymore, and the other person that I'm with is not really all that invested in this anymore, so let me step out. And I accepted that, and then I moved on. So the reason I brought up the subject too is I want to hear what kind of breakups have you guys gone through, and how was it weird? And if you're an avoidant, cool, I want to hear how a breakup feels to an avoidant. Maybe that's how it felt to that person at the time, maybe not, I don't know. And I would also like to hear how breakup feels or felt, or getting broken up with or breaking up with somebody felt for another schizoid that's listening, and what you don't or do relate to this little list of markers of grief or what have you. So thank you for listening. I hope it wasn't too boring. I hope you found something interesting in it. If you have any questions about it, you can just ask in the comments. I'll answer them. Please, for the love of God, follow me on Twitter. Or actually, I got on Minds, Minds.com. There's a Minds app too, but Minds.com, Minds, M-I-N-D-S. Get on that. You can find me under Schizoid Angst. Follow me on there. That'd be great. If you don't want to deal with Twitter for obvious reasons, go on Minds. It's alternative tech that isn't associated quite yet by the media as being all evil and bad and, politically this or that. So get on there. Talk to me there. Ask me questions there. Whatever. Interact with me. It's fucking weird for me to be asking that because I'm a fucking schizoid, but interact with me. Tell me about what you think of these videos. And I'm not really interested in that. I'm more interested in what you think about what I'm talking about, like what I'm saying, if you agree or disagree. The videos themselves, it's irrelevant. But any questions you have about what I said today or any other video, I'll gladly answer if I have the time. If you have any suggestions for improvements to the channel or things I can do, I'm still new at this, so I'm still learning. Go ahead and throw suggestions out there. If there's some way you want to help the channel to maybe spread the channel's influence or get more followers for it or whatever, if you have suggestions, I'll take them. I'm learning. I'm ignorant when it comes to all this shit, so I'll go with anything that'll help, because like I said, I want to spread the relatability and maybe spread a little dopamine amongst us socially averted. Thank you for listening. Subscribe, like, dislike, whatever. Goodbye.